I was like immediately, yes, please do it. That was successful, but it makes things more worse because I had a PVD after that. I don't know, I was like,
Wow.
this floater was away, and I realized one day later there was a huge cobweb on my eye when I was looking at the sky. It was like, yeah, like a cobweb, and in the cobweb there was a huge amount of floaters.
Right. So the suction device that was supposedly sucking away the floaters, there was a little bit of a reflux, and
Yes.
some debris came back into the vitreous, and presumably that was just mist.
The first night I saw the picture, my view was like it was a little bit side up. And I now focus more and more on things again that make me happy, like going to the gym, playing drums,
Wow.
doing my basically life.
Hmm.
And it's, yeah, it changed things to a really positive way.
Welcome. If you're new here, I'm optometrist Martin Aguzi, and in this video I'll continue my eye floater and vitrectomy surgery discussion that I started with Alexander in our original video, which I'll link to on the screen now and also leave in the description box below. Now, I highly recommend that you go and watch that video first of all, just so you get a bit more context to this video. This video is our raw discussion with very little in the way of editing, but it's nevertheless an interesting discussion that is worth watching if you've ever thought about having treatment for your eye floaters. Now, since the first video, Alex unfortunately ran into further issues and this required additional surgery, as you'll hear about in our discussion. We talk about the cost of this surgery as well, and his final thoughts on whether it was all worth it in the grand scheme of things. Stick around till the end because I'll come back on to give you a summary of my takeaways from the valuable discussion that we had. Enjoy the conversation. Thanks again for joining me for this kind of second part, really, in our discussion that we had previously about your eye floaters. And there's been a few developments since last time, so I just wanted to give you the opportunity to share with us what's been happening and how things have been since we last spoke. So yeah, what's been going on?
Yeah, last time we was talking about a floater that was left behind. In
That's
the
right.
end, it was a rest of vitreous. I had a second procedure to wash it out. That was successful, but it makes things more worse because I had a PVD after that. I don't know, I was like,
Wow.
this floater was away, and I realized one day later there was a huge cobweb on my eye when I was looking at the sky. It was like, yeah, like a cobweb, and in the cobweb there was a huge amount of floaters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I tried for the first to live with it because the professor told me it goes away from time to time,
Mm-hmm.
but it was terrible. And then I went to another professor, and he was like, he was looking into my eye, and it was, I do, and now we remove all. I see it, and you cannot live with this. I would not
Mm.
prefer it.
Okay, so let's just like catch up with where we are. So you in the first kind of discussion that we had, you shared about the procedure that you had for the floaters. You had the vitrectomy done, and after that, you kind of reported the fact that there was still some floaters that you were seeing, and they were quite annoying. And it looks like it got to the point where you still couldn't live with the floaters,
Yes.
and you went back, you saw your specialist, had a discussion with them, and you had them have a look at it. And if I understand right, they felt that you did have something that was significant, and they thought it was worth treating. Was that just the leftover floater that they missed, or was it something else?
Um, he created this floater. It was a reflux from the retractor from the instrument
Oh,
while
right,
I had the
okay,
surgery. Yes. So
right.
it was like he put it out,
Hmm.
and while he was putting it out, it goes back straight into my retris again.
Right, so the suction device that was supposedly sucking away the floaters, there was a little bit of a reflux, and
Yes.
some debris came back into the vitreous, and presumably that was just mist, and that's what caused. you to kind of have this new floater essentially that was there, and obviously then that was a big enough of an issue for you to not be able to live with. So when you went back, they explained that that's what they think was going on. All right. I mean, how did you feel? How did you feel about that? I mean, it's not something that people often think about as a possibility.
Uh, Simple, it was a nightmare.
Mm,
It was like, okay, I had this procedure, I paid for it, and I still have these problems.
mm-hmm,
And it was not like these small floaters that you sometimes see, especially. It
mm-hmm.
was a huge black worm, and it was always in my view. When
Right.
the sun comes in the room, and
Mm-hmm.
I seeing this when I was watching TV. I seeing this all the
Right.
time. When I was waking went up from the bed, I saw this.
Okay. Right. Okay. That's interesting because I mean, obviously, you went in to have a procedure because you had floaters. I think initially in our discussion, I think you felt that it was quite a good result and you had quite a bit of success with the procedure initially. Is that right? And was this far worse than the floaters before, or was it just that it was really annoying and it was different to before?
I would say it was worse than before.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Uh,
So before, did you have lots of floaters and then you were left with this one annoying one?
yes, yes,
Okay.
it was like I was thinking about back, and it was like, okay, these small things, they are not annoying like this huge thing in my eye.
Right. Okay. Wow. Okay. So that's interesting. So having had that discussion with them, they identify what the issue was, explain that they think it's a reflux from the instrument, and instead of vacuuming up the floaters, you had effectively some backwash, and you had some debris that was left behind and was missed. And I guess that is something that can happen, and that is a theoretical possibility that people need to be aware of. But hopefully, um, they take a good look and make sure there isn't any debris or anything left behind. And unfortunately, in your case, this was just something that was missed. I mean, that must have been difficult pill to swallow. But obviously, the problem was annoying enough, and you kind of ended up going to have it done. Tell us a bit more about that.
About the second procedure,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what did you do in the end? Did you go back with the same person? Did you end up going somewhere else? Were you charged full price? I mean, what was the
um,
situation?
for the second procedure, I went back to the same person because my ophthalmologist told me, go to him, tell this him, and he have to fix that.
Okay.
So yeah, and that was the reason why I went back.
Hmm.
I don't know, after a short couple of time, I had a surgery, I had a surgery done. I don't know, 1 week later.
Hmm.
It took 20 minutes.
Hmm.
So he was like, okay, I made sure that this floater is now gone.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
So that was fixed then, essentially, at that
Yes.
point,
Um,
and then
at this,
you developed another problem.
yes. So after that, I thought things are good now. And then the things went into a nightmare because after 1 or 2 days, when I was able to see again, I
Hmm.
saw my vitreous. The vitreous was in my view. I saw this. It was not like a floaters. It was like I told before, like a cobweb,
Hmm.
and you still you saw the pieces that he removed.
Right. Okay.
It was like a puzzle of things,
Hmm.
especially when it was really bright, and that
Hmm.
was more annoying, and it was difficult to live with this.
So yeah. So okay. So initially things were okay, then you developed this cobweb, and it was like a broken like piece of a puzzle almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um and what happened after that? I mean, did you go and get checked out?
Yes. I went back to the professor and I was telling him the problem, and he was like, he told me it's a ghost floater, and young mans sometimes see the floater still, and this goes away because that's a um, like image that the brain is
Yeah.
yeah, what's the
So it's
word?
a bit like almost like some. He was trying to say that you had perhaps like
Illu-
phantom
yes,
floaters.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So they weren't really there, but it was something that was almost a neurological effect, just creating this these kind of sensations.
Yeah.
Um, did they did they seem real to you?
No. Um, there was another doctor beside the professor, and he was looking into my eye and was like, I see what is now the torture.
And then what happened in the end? So you mentioned something about posterior vitreous detachment. So was that later confirmed as the cause?
Yes. Later, when I was back in Nuremberg at my ophthalmologist, he was looking into the eye and was like, okay, you have a PVD, and that is the reason for your problems.
Right. Okay. So I mean, obviously that's very unfortunate because I guess that's um I suppose a byproduct of the procedure that you've had. Not everybody will get that, but you've got this posterior vitreous detachment now, and it's created this large kind of cobweb floater and possible vice ring in your vision now, which essentially is another floater now that is annoying you.
Yeah.
And so probably at this stage you're probably thinking, what's going on? Are you doomed to have eye floaters forever? Where does the story go? What's happened since?
There was a mix. I was like, okay, maybe I try to live with it. So I try it for, I don't know, 2 weeks. And then I was sitting down and I had a call with Dr. Brasse from the Netherlands. And he was like, go, there is a professor in Erlangen. He's called Professor Hunemann. And he's really, really good. I swear it. He was like, we find a solution. So you don't have to live with it. Trust me.
Mm,
And for me, it was like, okay, after the second procedure,
mm,
okay, let's see. Come on, okay, I give it a try. And I was writing with him an
hmm.
email, and he replied really fast back and was like, come, and I will see it. And
Yeah.
after 5 minutes, when I was there, he was like, I remove it all. We do now a full vitrectomy, but we leave a small amount of vitreous against the lens to
Hmm.
prevent the cataract for,
Okay.
I don't know, some years.
Sure.
That
So
was
so I
his
think
plan.
previously you had, if I remember right, you had a core vitrectomy. So they removed
Yes.
the central part of the vitreous, and that was all, and just left some of the vitreous um, just behind the lens and also in front of the retina. So is that right?
No. I asked another professor about Professor Koch about his procedure, and it was he removed just some floaters, not the center. It was not
Right.
like he
Okay.
goes in and he removed really the center. It was like, okay, I go in, I see this floater, I see this floater, I see this.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was the first procedure you had done.
Yes.
So they just basically went in and selectively tried to find the floaters and just essentially suction out the floaters that they could
Yes.
see. Okay,
Yes.
which I guess carries a bit more risk of missing some and leaving some behind, and that
Yes.
might have been, I guess, um, part of why the initial procedures you had, left some things and some debris behind as well. So that's interesting. I mean, what happened this time? Because it looks like you're talking about now them doing a full complete vitrectomy removal of that. And obviously, if you've got the PVD, the posterior vitreous detachment already, I guess that makes sense. So what actually happened?
Um, it was not complicated when we was talking about the procedure. he was like, okay, we see us again in 4 weeks, and then I will do it and we will move it. Yeah. So for me, I was like immediately, yes, yes, please do it. For
And
me, it was like,
you've had this done now, have you?
yes.
So how many weeks post this procedure are you now?
It's now week 8.
Oh, 8 weeks. Wow. Okay.
Yes.
And so, what's the verdict? How is everything looking in that eye?
It's another life. I still have some dots left that I
Hmm.
see.
Yeah.
But I had them before. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
I had these small dots at the lens
Yeah.
before. And I now focus more and more on things again that make me happy, like going to the gym, playing drums,
Wow.
doing my basically life.
Hmm.
And yeah, it changed things to a really positive way.
Right. So it's so much more clearer now and improved. And
Yes.
I guess, obviously with the vitrectomy, like you said, they even though it was a full vitrectomy, they still left a little bit of the vitreous,
Yeah.
just adjacent next to the lens, the crystalline lens. So I guess there could have been some tiny floaters that were in that area anyway, which are a lot more forward, wouldn't cast as much of an intense shadow, and a lot more easy to live with. So
Yes.
that's fantastic to hear that story and to hear the progress that you've made with it. I mean, obviously, it's been a huge ordeal and a huge journey. You don't expect, I suppose, to have a procedure like this done and have to kind of go back and fix things as many times as you've had to do that. So, I mean, let's go on to maybe some advice you might want to kind of give people. I mean, I know a lot of people thinking about and weighing up the options for having procedures that are invasive, like a vitrectomy. And as being someone who's had it before yourself and has kind of had a positive outcome, but has been through, kind of rough journey really with it.
Yeah.
So, what thinking about what kind of advice you give to people, and certainly if I think about the questions that people might ask, um I mean, is it a scary procedure? So somebody who's wondering about having it done, would you say it's a scary procedure? Is there pain involved? I mean, how generally would you say that the procedure was from that point of view?
For the first, I would say it doesn't hurt. That's not the thing. But you have to be aware of it when you have the procedure done. The first night I saw the picture, my view was like it was a little bit side up. So I was not.
Mm.
I saw okay there. It's not. I can see clear. It was like I don't know. You was looking into into a glass, and the picture is a little bit sideways. So
All right, okay.
I was a little bit scared of it because yeah.
So there
Uh,
was a little bit of distortion
yes.
initially, and you said that was for the first day.
Yes, the first night after the procedure. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And the following day it was all okay.
Yes.
Okay. Great. So that's
100% you.
so that's good to know in terms of at least this. It wasn't painful for you at all. But did you? I can't remember if you said you had a general anesthetic.
Yes.
Okay. And that was for all of the procedures. It was all general, was it?
Yes.
Okay. So you definitely wouldn't feel anything then in
I
that
would
situation.
prefer that, and my professor told me why. Because when you awake and you see what's going on, it's better. He told me it's better for your soul. You sleep, you don't get something from the procedure, and after that
Mm.
you're happy.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, absolutely, I can imagine. I mean, it's a big thing to have a general anesthetic, to be fair, but
Yeah.
um, it's I guess it's an involved procedure. Um, I mean, how long did it take to do each eye? You started thinking it was
Oh,
quite a quick procedure.
yeah. He told me 20 minutes. It was 20 minutes or something.
Hmm.
He start from the back, from the retina, and yeah, he was working slowly to the front.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And having been through what you've been through now, Alex, I mean, what would you say you've learned about, the kind of best vitrectomy kind of option to go for in terms of procedure? Because obviously you would have been through the consultations. They might have talked to you about the different options that you got, whether to have, a full vitrectomy for pars plana vitrectomy, or have a core vitrectomy. I mean, what's your kind of like final verdict on what procedure you think was the best for you?
For me, it's the best, the full vitrectomy with the with the small amount or small piece of vitreous against the lens and the small dots that you still have. It's for me, it's a good option.
Hmm.
Um, but because I think, especially when you're like me, a guy who's really scared of it and sometimes a little bit depressed, or I would say go for the huge procedure because it's it doesn't make sense to remove a small part of the problem.
Mm, yeah. And I think, people will get advised when they have these consultations, and every individual's case is different,
Yeah,
and they'll have a look at how many floaters you've got, the location and proximity to the retina, and all of that will be kind of factors that determine, the advice that you get on a individual basis about, what procedure is going to be best for you. But I think certainly sounds like in your case, that certainly is what kind of gave the best outcome overall, really. But I mean, that's helpful to know, because I think a full vitrectomy is probably the most scariest option, I think, as well for people, because especially if you're a young person having a full vitrectomy, that's also where some of the risks potentially to the retina might be a bit greater. But like you've kind of mentioned and you've been told, I think many of these vitreoretinal surgeons that specialize in floater only vitrectomy, many of them, I mean, I find are quite confident about their ability to do a full vitrectomy, and it not having many of the associated, or the risks that people often associate with it. So obviously, like I say, in your case, it sounds like that was the best option, really, and perhaps that's what you should have had in the first place.
yeah.
Um, and what do you think, realistically, is the kind of results that people should expect? So if somebody goes and has a vitrectomy now, I mean, obviously many people, thinking about this procedure, you know, would like to come out with a result where they have no floaters whatsoever and never have to think about floaters again. What's your kind of thoughts on how realistic that kind of thinking might be?
Um, I think you must be realistic about that you have maybe some dots left or some small worms that you see when it's really bright. I think that's one thing that you have really be aware of it. For me, it increased the blue field and topic phenomenon that
Hmm.
increased after the procedure when I'm outside. Maybe I'm just looking more about it. Maybe it was like before, I'm not sure, but I can clearly see I don't have a vitreous in my eye anymore, so it's something
Right.
different. But
Hmm.
but if you have a sunglass outside, and for me it's like when it's sunny, it's always better to wear sunglass.
Mm.
That's fine. So it's okay. So,
Okay.
but
Great.
yeah, be realistic about that. That things will never be like before. So because you removed
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. 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 I mean, and how did you get to the point where you were? I mean, obviously knowing some of the risks and things. I mean, how did you get to the point where you felt like, you knew you had to do this? Because I guess a lot of people. weigh up the risks and have to make a decision, have to make a call once they have all the information about whether it's worth it for them. I mean, someone like myself who has eye floaters, I know that I'm nowhere near in the category of needing to have an invasive procedure done, because as much as I've got my floaters and I can, if I look for them, see them there all the time, for the most part, when I'm in normal lighting indoors, I can totally ignore them. So I know that any associated risks wouldn't be um, wouldn't be wouldn't be worth it for me. How
Yeah.
did you get to the point where you felt, okay, this is something I have to do?
I was thinking about that about the point. I saw them indoor, so it was like I was in a
Mm,
room and I saw, okay, there is this cobweb moving. So I'm sitting here and this room is not really bright, and I saw
mm,
this. When I
mm,
was playing computer, I saw this. When I
mm,
was driving with a car in the night, I saw this.
yeah,
So it was so near to my retina that I decided, okay, yeah, for me it's worth it to do it, to get into it, and
yeah,
everything is better than now how it is.
yeah. Can I ask you about the cost of the procedures?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure many people who are thinking about this will be interested in, what kind of cost is involved, and that will obviously be a big deciding factor for many people. So, ignoring the fact that you had to have multiple procedures done, I mean, about roughly how much was having, one procedure done, and you can kind of give us an idea in I suppose dollars or German money,
yeah.
whatever you can convert it to.
The last procedure, not the full vitrectomy, the core vitrectomy for removing the reflux, it was 2,200 euros.
Hmm.
He offered me the full vitrectomy. This was 4,500 euros
Okay.
with the anesthetic doctor included. And on the other side, my last surgeon, he offered me, you sleep in the hospital. I have some beds there where you can sleep, and then it's
Hmm.
for free because it's in the hospital.
Hmm.
For me, it was like, okay, this is a good option for me. It's quite uncomplicated,
Mm.
and yeah, it's possible to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Great. Yeah. So, I mean, thank you for that. I mean, that's helpful to know. Obviously, the core is going to be more pricey, and also, like you say, with factoring in the anesthetic cost as well. And I guess those kind of prices will vary depending on where people are in the world.
yeah.
Um, Thank you so much. I mean, finally, would you say it's all been worth it? I mean, where you are now, the kind of vision you've got, the outlook on life that you have now, would you say it's all been worth it, everything that you've been through? Because you've probably been through a few more ups and downs than, most people who might just go in and have the one procedure have been.
I would say, yeah, worth it because I can share my experience now. Maybe it's helpful. So
Mm,
this nightmare could be helpful for persons and people around the world. Um, yeah, and I would definitely do it again. So just to remove this nightmare.
yeah. Hopefully you don't have to do it anytime soon. Alex, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Thanks for giving us feedback on your progress. And I think your story definitely has been really helpful to many people on the channel. And appreciate you being part of the community of people that watch my videos. And thank you for reaching out and wanting to share your story. Hope you got some value from this video. You might equally have watched this video and thought to yourself that a floater only vitrectomy is more hassle than it's worth, or that it sounds way too dangerous, or that you may even have come away realizing that your eye floaters just aren't actually that bad, and it's not worth the bother of going through all of the associated risk with something like a vitrectomy. And you know what? None of these are bad conclusions to come to. Now, my realization is that people who have seriously annoying vision degrading eye floaters should probably only consider a full vitrectomy rather than only having something like a core vitrectomy or having the floaters removed directly and just parts of the vitreous removed. And the reason is that people in this category of eye floaters that impact their lifestyle in such a serious way will usually have floaters that are near the retina. Now, any procedure that doesn't involve full vitreous removal may be likely to leave some floaters behind or cause more of them due to the stop and start suction that might experience from trying to capture individual floaters, leading to a greater risk of reflux debris, just like Alex experienced in his initial procedure. Now, my advice though would be to do your research, obviously, but assume that you're going to have a full vitrectomy done and perhaps have discussions with your surgeons about why they would advise against a full vitrectomy rather than starting the discussion in the other way around. And I'm pretty sure that many people go into this kind of conversation with their surgeons in the hopes of trying to avoid a full vitrectomy, and this may well be against their surgeon's original recommendation. Now, the reality is that a full vitrectomy is performed every day by specialists all around the world for non-floater related reasons without problems, and so may actually prove to be the least riskier option in this kind of scenario. Now, ultimately, I'm delighted that Alex is happy with his final result now, and hopefully I'll feature interviews with vitreoretinal surgeons on the channel soon. So do leave a comment in the comment section below with any questions that you might want me to put towards these surgeons. And of course, do like this video and subscribe to the channel to let me know that you want more videos like this.